So today I'm looking at how we choose our teachers. Most of us, know who our teachers have been when we look at the experiences of our lives and we go back to our childhood and through our teenage years or formative years. And then we realize, oh, I really like this teacher. This is the teacher that influenced me the most, or this is the teacher that I dislike the most, or and for this reason, this is what I learned and this is what I didn't learn, etc. But do you realize that you have teachers every second of the day? Yes, from the very experience you're experiencing right now with me here, you could be your teacher. The fact that you chose to listen to this means you are your most important teacher because we have a choice. We have a choice who we listen to. We have a choice who we follow. We have a choice what we hear. We have a choice what we see. We have a choice what we touch. We have a choice what we taste. We have a choice constantly as to who our teachers are. But do we choose consciously? And I think therein lies the issue. So when I look back at my own life, I see that some of my own teachers have been really consciously and sometimes unconsciously been there for me. For example, I have noticed that some of my teachers have been the places that I've gone to, like the Canadian Rockies. I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from in Jasper Park, how they treated the animals. I learned the kind of attention that needs to be given to the rest of the living beings when they also create in the Rockies, they create bridges for the animals to cross over so they don't have to cross over the streets where we, the tourists and the residents, use. I learned so many things about what it is to be completely involved in how we're taught. So some lessons I've consciously sought, some teachers I've consciously sought. I chose to go and study with Deepak Chopra. I chose to go and study with Thich Nhat Hanh. I chose to go to study movement therapy and movement analysis. I chose to study anatomy, physiology, and psychology. I chose to study so many things, and I chose not to study geometry. So some of our teachings and our teachers we chose consciously, but a lot of them we've chosen subconsciously without realizing it. And we subconsciously also attract different teachers to us at different times in our lives because like attracts like. And when we function at a certain vibrational energy, we attract teachers at that vibrational energy. So some of us might be completely unaware from whom we are learning and how we learn to be in the world. Isn't it interesting that people who had parents or one parent or one set of parents or maybe somebody else in the family who were chosen addicts, chose to be addicts in their life. And I know people will say to me, oh, I didn't choose to be an addict. Every single thing we do is a choice. And maybe that's your teacher, that the chosen teacher you chose is the addiction. So you might be completely unaware of that. And that's what I mean when I say some of us choose teachers and we're completely unaware of what and who we choose. We're always learning from someone, whether we realize it or not. But are we actively learning from them? Or are we learning victimization? And some people, that's what they teach. And some of us need to learn about victimization in order to overcome it if that is something that's been handing down from generation to generation in our family constellation systems. But it doesn't matter who I consciously or unconsciously learned from or how. I now bow to all of them in gratitude because the person that I am now is a result of all the unconscious and conscious choices I made for teachers. So if you know that you're constantly choosing how to learn, I suggest that you be very aware also of those that you consciously choose. For example, there's a lot of strife that I see going on right now in the raw vegan movement. So much strife, so much intolerance, so much blame, a lot of blame, striking out at their teachers, striking out at each other. When they chose the teacher, the teacher did not choose them. So there are places in ourselves that we can go to feel safe. And that's a choice we make too. Because in my opinion, the greatest teacher we have is this, our biology, the human form, the human body. You can learn so much about yourself when you live according to your biology. Do not seek so much to learn about other forms of life other than the form of life that's lived in that biology. For example, when I was a little girl, I learned and I saw, and we had to learn exponentially and also on actually with our own hands, we learned to look at caterpillars, and we learned we touched the leaves, we touched the branches on which they were going. We saw them go into a cocoon. We saw them come out as a butterfly. That, for me, from my childhood, was the second most impactful thing I've ever learned in my life. And that was a great teacher for me, the caterpillar. Huge teacher, and still is, still is. And I still smile when I think of caterpillars or when I see a photograph or a video of one. In fact, just a few days ago, I was watching a video of a caterpillar and watching the crystallization. And it was just the most amazing crystallization from a caterpillar to a butterfly. It was just so incredible. And it reminded me so much of how much I learned, that in times we have to go internally. So that's the whole time when we have to go internally at some point. And it's internally that we find all the teachers that we ever need from our own body, from our organs, from our lungs, from our nervous system. And that's what I teach when I work with people. I don't teach them what to eat, but to how to be instinctive. When I teach them to honor and to start focusing on their own internal structure, their biological structure, their organs, and how to learn how to make decisions of their lives according to that. Because nature is really our greatest healer. Nature is where we really learn so much from. So if you're feeling frustrated and overwhelmed and you say, I don't want to eat like this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. It's not working. Or if you're somebody who eats according to the scale or according to a tape measurer, or you're somebody who eats according to fads or what you see in mainstream media all the time, or if you've done all of the above and you've gone from one diet to another and you're just discontented and frustrated and fed up now, and you feel like when you look at a plate, you have no idea what you need to be putting on it, just know that these have also been your teachers. So of eating disorders, so has all the different stuff that you have come up against. They've all taught you something. And I trust that what they've taught you is that you're to take responsibility for your life, because that is where your powers lie. Look at nature. Go into nature. Nature is the biggest teacher, the greatest teacher. Why? Because we are an integral part of nature. Nothing and no one can transcend all the lessons of nature. And if we do not look at nature, we will end up using illness as our teacher, which is it's a great illness. Illness is one of the best teachers, one of the most welcome teachers in my own life. And it is what taught me about the biology of my own body, not the actual structured thinking when I went to institutions and I studied anatomy, physiology there, but when I experienced it for myself in my own body when I was ill, when I went away from nature and started eating the way that civilization told me I needed to eat. So I invite you today to go into nature, apprise all of the lessons you've learned so far. Give thanks. Give thanks to all your teachers and all the things that have taught you. Do not blame anyone. Just simply take your powers back and take responsibility for who you choose to be your teacher. Thank you, everyone. Please click the subscribe and the notification button if you'd like to continue with more of this, because this is how I know that you do. And please leave your own comments below as to who you think has been your most helpful teacher. And listen to your heart, because your heart has all the wisdom that you could ever need from a teacher. Until next time, every day, Monday to Friday, the same platform.